go ahead. Welcome and thank you for standing by. Today's call is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. I would now like to turn the call over to Mr. David Fleitas.
Thank you, and hello everyone, and welcome to the fiscal year 2017 BEA program electronic application walkthrough. My name is David Fleitas, and I'm a Senior Policy and Program Officer for the CDFI Fund's Bank Enterprise Award Program. I'm joined today by Joan Reed-Patrick and Mia Soul, Policy and Program Officer for the BEA program, and Mia is the Associate Program Manager. This is the year that applicants will use the CDFI Fund's Award Management Information System, or AMIS for short, to complete and submit Part 2 of their BEA program applications. Today we'll cover the entire BEA program electronic application, complete and submission process from the very beginning, accessing and updating the organization and BEA program profile, to the end, submit a BEA application, and everything in between, including how to set transactions and supporting documentation. With all prospective applicants, in addition to viewing this walkthrough, to AMIS training manuals before starting an application. Navigating AMIS, this is titled Getting Started, Navigating AMIS. The second is titled BEA Program Application Submission. Both are located on the AMIS training page of the CDFI Fund's website. We hope this walkthrough to be helpful, and with that, let's get started. Completing your fiscal year 2017 BEA applicant is to locate your organization's profile in AMIS. This is section 2.1 of the BEA AMIS application manual. Note that if you do not have an existing organization profile, you'll need to create one. I'll be covering this in the walkthrough. However, you can find detailed instructions on how to register your organization in AMIS in the Getting Started Navigating AMIS training manual that I just mentioned. This walkthrough is based on an organization that has already registered and created an AMIS account. We will begin by searching for our organization. You can see that I have already logged in. Selecting your organization, once you log in, is to click the Organizations tab, which is located in the upper left-hand side of the screen. Using the View drop-down box, select All Organizations and click Go. They are based on your user information. For example, if your user information is connected with multiple organizations, then you will see them all listed here. In this scenario, however, my search only resulted in one organization that my user information is connected to, Bank of Chantilly, which is the subject of our walkthrough. Now I'm going to click on the organization name, in this case Bank of Chantilly, to open up the organization profile. Now you to the organization profile page. As you can see, the first section is called Organization Detail. This section displays the organization name, the parent relationship if applicable, the phone number and website associated with the organization, the IN information, and the DUNS number. This section is the organization type section. This displays the financial institution type. Please keep in mind, and this is very important, that the financial institution type will be bank or thrift in order to apply for a BEA program award, which you can see here it is. This also displays the organization structure, which here we see is for-profit. It displays the date of incorporation, the financial activities, start date. Please note that this field is not applicable for BEA. The total asset size. This also in the organization profile page is not applicable for BEA purposes. This information is collected for BEA in the funding application. Will be demonstrated when we get part of the walkthrough. You see the fiscal year end date, and below that the fiscal year end month. The next of the organization profile is the certification information section. While BEA applicants are not required to be certified CDFIs, you should be aware that priority is given to certified CDFI applicants, and therefore should pay close attention to this section to ensure that the certification status of your organization is accurately reflected. Then is the information section. Again, you should review, and you'll have the option to update this as necessary, which I'll demonstrate a little later in this presentation. Following the address information section is the regulated institution section. This is only applicable to regulated financial institutions, which means that it's applicable to every BEA applicant. You should review this section and make any necessary changes. And again, I'll be demonstrating how you would edit this information in a few moments. Institution section, we have system information, which displays when the record was created and who last accessed it, organization, org-related attachments, and financial data sections, which you can see here and are blank and not really important for this demonstration. These are followed by the contacts section, which lists the organization's user accounts. Note that all users designated as authorized representatives can sign an application, and only users designated either a point of contact or an authorized representative can submit an application. Also important to note that this representative and the point of contact cannot be the same person, so it's important that you have at least 2 users listed here. Below section, we have the certification section, which displays the certification name, date, and type for organization. Below that, you see that we have the program profile section, which lists all the program profiles created by the organization. Now that we've covered the organization profile page, I would like to show you which sections and fields are editable. Note that a service request is required to update some of the information on this page, but not all of it. You can edit just by clicking the edit button, which we'll do now. That I'm ready to make edits, I'm first going to attempt to change the fiscal year end month, which is a field that must be changed via service request. I'm going to change the month from December to September and click Save. You will, the system flagged this as an error and indicated that this must be changed via service request. So we're going to change it back to December and click Save to resolve the error. And click Edit again. And then I'm going to scroll down the institution section and change my financial regulator type from OCC to FDIC. Click Save. Here, that's an editable field, and that is something that can be changed without a service request. So one of the things that you'll be able to update. Now, once you're done making any necessary updates to the organization profile page, you are now ready to move on to the BEA program profile. BEA program profile by either using the program profile tab at the top of the page, which we're not going to do, but we're pointed out, or by scrolling down to the program profile section that I mentioned earlier. One, the link under the column header, program profile name, and select the record number for the BEA program profile, and it'll open. And here we see the program profile. You can profile detail page, you will see that certain organization information has been copied over from the organization profile page. This information is not editable. What you can update on this page is geographic market served. And so you would click on Edit at the bottom or top of the page. Now you're able to add or remove to your list of geographic markets served. Necessary updates, we're going to add one state just to demonstrate this. And once made the necessary updates, you click Save. Now ready to begin your BEA application. In order to do so, you would run new BEA application. However, our test application has already been created, so we're going to click on the link under the funding applications column header to access our saved application. This concludes part of the walkthrough. We are now on the funding application detail, which is the application of the actual BEA application. I'm going to be turning the presentation over to Joan Reed-Patrick, and she will be discussing how to complete the funding application. Joan?
Thank you. My name is Joan Reed-Patrick. As was mentioned earlier by David, I'm the Policy and Program Officer of the BEA program. I will be walking you through how to complete several sections of the funding application page. When your application for the first time, we'll select New BEA Application. For today's demonstration, we have already created an application and it's available by clicking on the hyperlink on the funding application. I'll click on the Edit button so that you can see all of the required fields. Please note that all fields marked with red bar will be required, and you must enter information there before you can save this portion of the application. You have the opportunity to return and make edits to these sections at a later time if you determine that is necessary. I'd like to show you all of the various sections which you must be prepared to complete when you first get started. We've already entered information in these fields for today's demonstration. The first section is the Organization Information section, followed by the SF424 section. If your SF424 information is not currently available, you can skip the section until you're ready to submit your application. This will allow you to save the application without including the SF24 information. Next is the Application Contact section. As mentioned, please note that the authorized rep and the application point of contact must be two different people. The section is the Environmental Review Form. You need to complete environmental review form by selecting the applicable responses from the drop-down box. Note the red bar next to each field, which is an indication that the field is required. The next section is Table 5, Reporting BEA Qualified Activities. This will enter your baseline period and assessment amount for the activity types. Organization is not reporting on a specific transaction type, you are required to enter a 0 in the applicable field. Refer to pages 33 and 34 of the application instructions document for requirements related to completing Table 5. You are required to complete the table by entering all your baseline and assessment period amounts for each activity type. The increase in activity will be displayed once you entered all the baseline and assessment period amounts and saved the application. Once you have filled in all the fields and saved the document, the next step will be to enter the individual transactions for the activities that reflect an increase. For now, we'll continue demonstrating the sections of the funding application. The next section shows summaries of the BEA 3 category types. This will be auto-populated as you complete the application, but these summaries later on in the presentation. The section is Projected Use of Award. The head of this section reflects an estimate that the applicant will make regarding how it will use its BEA program award amongst the 3 qualified BEA categories. Direct administrative expenses. 3, if they receive an award, should not exceed 100%. Admin expenses may not exceed 50%. The sum of all 3, as I mentioned earlier, must total 100%. The system will prevent you from entering percentages higher than what is allowed. The right side of this section is where the applicant indicates a minimum and maximum percentage of the BEA program award that they can commit to deploying in BEA distressed communities that are also defined as being a persistent poverty county. Votes are required to be completed, and you may enter an amount ranging from 0 to 100%. Be sure to refer to persistent poverty county criteria on our website. So see page 8 of the application instructions for further information on how to locate the list of persistent poverty counties. The next section is the total estimated award amount. This is also auto-populated as you complete the application. We will cover the total estimated award amount later in the presentation. The section is the total estimated hours to complete the application. You can enter an estimate here and update the entry at a later time. And the final section is the applicant's signature. You complete this section once you're ready to submit your application. Once heard information in all of these sections, then click the Save button. Now you are ready to enter transactions and upload supporting documents. One thing to keep in mind is that the transaction entered should align with the information of the supporting document, such as the borrower name, address, date, proof of disbursement, etc. Please see pages 35 to 38 of the application for guidance on entering BEA transactions to be considered for an award. I'll be demonstrating one transaction from the distressed community subcategory consumer loans. The transaction type I will be demonstrating is affordable housing loan, AL. You can start entering your transaction by selecting the BEA transaction link at the top of the page, or scroll down to the BEA transaction list and select the Add Transaction button to take you to the BEA Activities Record Type options. Please note, transactions should only be entered for the activities that demonstrate an increase. You could see Table 5 for information. If there was no increase for a particular activity type, you will receive an error message when trying to add a transaction. The record type drop-down list for the applicable record type. Under circumstance, we would have selected AHL for the affordable housing loan transaction type. However, for this case, we will demonstrate a transaction that was already created. So go ahead by clicking the Edit button, and you'll note that fields denoted with a red bar are required to be completed. For distressed community financing activities, the following fields are required: provided borrower investee, borrower value, disbursed to date, status, date of execution, date of disbursement. Also, address and census tract are also required fields for all distressed community financing activities. Also note that once all the fields are filled in and the record is saved, it will automatically indicate whether or not the census tract qualifies for BEA in the field labeled BEA qualified status. If you're unsure of the census tract number associated with the address, you should perform geocoding in CDFI Funds Information Mapping System, also known as SIMS. Refer to the BEA Program SIMS 3 manual for further instructions. within 24 hours after the application is submitted, AMIS will verify and confirm whether the census tract and corresponds with the address entered. After the 24 hours period, the validation status will be reflected in the field called address verification. Example, the census tract entered did not accurately correspond with the address. As a result, the SIM provided an error which says address and census tract do not match. Retrieve the correct census tract from SIMS. When and census tracts entered appropriately, then this field will show a status of verified. Okay, so we'll go on to add in supporting documents. To add the supporting documents for the transaction, click the Attached File button at the bottom of the page for the saved transaction. Locate the file path for the supporting document and click the Attached File button to attach the file. Once done, you're going to click the Done button to return to the BEA transaction detail page. We'll also denote the transactions that require supporting documentation with a red flag to indicate the missing documents or document, and a green flag once the document or documents has been fully uploaded. Please also see pages 45 to 49 of the fiscal year 2017 BEA application for information and supporting documentation. I'll return the demonstration back to David, who will continue in a CDFI-related activity transaction.
For this demonstration, I'm going to show a CDFI-related activity. The activity that we're going to use is the very first one in the list here that you can see. It's a deposits. So I'm going to click on transaction name. Brings you to the BEA transaction detail page. You here displayed the fields. Total dollar value is $500,000. The amount dispersed to date is also $500,000, so fully dispersed. Notes field, we have just some text in there for testing purposes, just to demonstrate what the notes field looks like. On the right-hand side, you can see date of execution, which is within the applicable assessment period of calendar year 2016. And the disbursement is also reflected there below that in the assessment period as well. Below we have, and this is the most important feature and why we wanted to demonstrate with each type of transaction, is the CDFI partner info on distressed community financing activities. As Joan just demonstrated, it's a borrower, investee, or service provided. That's the name of that field and category. For CDFI-related activities, we ask for the applicant to enter the EIN number of CDFI partners, so the recipient organization. Since we have access to the CDFI certification records here at the CDFI Fund, AMIS has been programmed with the ability to look up the CDFI's record that you're entering based on this EIN number field and return the name of the certified CDFI. This has been completed for our test example. You can see here that the EIN number is the editable field and that the organization name would just display below that. It's not something that you can input on your own. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save here, and we're back to the BEA transaction detail page. Once if you were here to make edits, you would once again want to confirm that everything is accurate and correct. And when you're satisfied with that, you can click on the blue link towards the top that says back to the list. So my apologies, you would want to click on funding application. If you clicked on the blue link at the top, that would take you all the way back to the organizations page. We're returning back to the funding application here to continue the walkthrough, and that's the link that I'm hovering over now. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass the presentation on to Mia Soul. Again, she's our Associate Program Manager, and she's going to resume the walkthrough and cover some more topics.
Thank you, David. We'll also show a final transaction in the service activities category type. So again, when adding a transaction, we can access our list of transactions by either going to the hyperlink at the top of your screen or by scrolling all the way down to your BEA transaction section of the funding application. And again, we would add a new transaction. For this example, we'll show a transaction in the financial services activity type, and we have one that we've already created for purposes of today's demonstration. So the service provided field, I'm going to go into edit mode again, because for the service provided field, you can provide a brief description of the service provided, since you're usually going to sum up several activities and then present all of those that occurred in that particular census tract into the one transaction. So for example, you could label your service provided as something such as new ATMs. For the impact field, you would enter the number of new ATMs. I'd like to refer you to page 37 in the application instructions, guidance on how to complete the impact field, which is a required field for several of the activity types. You would also enter the total dollar value and date of execution, which again is required to be during the assessment period. And then there's a notes field, which is optional, but you could use this field to enter any helpful information you'd like to describe, or the narrative that's required for this particular activity type, which describes the methodology used to derive the value stated, or other descriptions noted in the application instructions. You can also add a narrative in the notes and attachment section after you enter information in this BEA transaction edit mode. The other mandatory field is the census tract where the activity occurred. So after you save the transaction, again, the field labeled BEA qualification status will be populated. You may see this field while you're in the edit mode. However, you will not be able to enter or change any information there. It's done within the system. The other address information, such as the street, city, state, and zip, is optional for your service activities. If you have more, and the reason for that is, in this example, if we had more than one ATM that was installed in one particular census tract, then that would require multiple addresses. So instead, you can just enter the census tract number for the ATMs which were installed there and click Save. So now you're brought back to the BEA transactions detail page. Be sure that you add any required attachments. So again, if you still need to provide an attachment with the methodology or any other narrative or supporting documentation, then you would do that at the bottom of your screen, and either add a file, as Joan provided a demonstration on earlier, or you can enter a note in this field here. Okay, so now we'll return to the main page of the funding application. by clicking on the hyperlink in the funding application field. Now we'll review the various category summaries that are displayed and auto-populated as you enter transactions. So you'll scroll down, and after you see Table 5, which you've entered, then you get to the section of the various summaries that are displayed. And there's a summary for each BEA category type: for certified related activities, for distressed community financing activities, and for service activities. So for example, CDFI related activities summary consists of 2 subcategories, and you can see that reflected here. So the left side shows the total dollar amount of all transactions the applicant included for the following activity types: CDFI equity investments, CDFI equity-like loans, and CDFI grants. These are all part of the subcategory called CDFI equity investments and equity-like loans. And then when you go to the right-hand side of this part of the summary, then you'll see that the first field is the sum of those activity types, and it's labeled by the subcategory name of CDFI equity investments, equity-like loan. In this case, we did not have any transactions that were related to this subcategory, so that's why you see all zeros displayed here. But if you were to walk through the other fields here, you'll see that it includes the baseline amount that was entered in Table 5 for this particular subcategory, and then the reported increase, which is just the difference between a baseline period and the total transactions that were entered that would be reflected here. After that, the reported increase is multiplied by an award percentage. In this case would be 18%, and that's how you would get the dollar amount for estimated award amount CDFI equity. The next subcategory under CDFI related activities is CDFI support activities, which consists of the sum of the subcategory activity types called CDFI loans, CDFI deposit shares, and CDFI technical assistance. The baseline period amount and the CDFI support report increase are derived similarly to what we just described for the other subcategory. However, the estimated award amount takes into consideration the award percentage for this particular subcategory, which is 18% for all certified CDFI applicants and 6% for non-CDFI applicants. The next section is the Distressed Community Financing Activities Summary. It also consists of 2 subcategories: consumer loans and commercial loans and investments. Similarly to what you saw above, the left-handed side of the section shows the total dollar amount of all transactions the applicant included for all activity types in each subcategory. The baseline period amount and reported increase amount shows the total dollar amount of all transactions entered. They're derived similarly to what we described earlier. However, the reported increase is multiplied by a priority factor of either 1, 3, or 5, depending on the bank's total asset amount as of December 31st, 2016. That amount is entered in the very first section of your funding application. That calculation is performed in this case 75,000 times 5 to get your weighted value of $375,000. The weighted value for the consumer loan subcategory is then multiplied by the award percentage of 18%, 3% or 6%, again, based on whether the applicant is a certified CDFI or non-certified CDFI, in order to get your total estimated award amount for consumer loans. The commercial loan subcategory is calculated similarly. However, the weighted value is multiplied by award percentage of 9% or 3% based on whether the applicant is a certified CDFI or non-certified CDFI in order to obtain the estimated award amount for this subcategory of commercial loans. And the last summary is for service activities. There are subcategories for this category, so you'll notice all of the activity types listed on the left, just like in the other sections. The right side lists all of the reported increases for each activity type, and again, the weighted value for service activities is multiplied by an award percentage of 9% or 3% based on whether the applicant is a certified CDFI or non-certified CDFI in order to obtain the estimated award amount. So the next section, actually 2 sections below, is the estimated award amount. And if we just focus on the left side of the screen, then that provides a breakdown for the estimated award amount amongst the 3 categories, which you'll see here. And then there's also a total estimated award amount, which takes the sum of all 3 categories and provides overall that your organization may be eligible to receive an award for pending the CDFI funds review. In order to see the detail behind the calculation, you view the next section below called Table 7, Estimated BEA Program Award Calculation. This actually replicates pages 42 to 43 of the application instructions and provides the above information and the summaries in a more user-friendly view. So again, it's the same information with the baseline assessment period amount, any change in activity, which would be the increase, and the respective award percentages will automatically populate here depending on the CDFI status, and then the award amounts are calculated. So you'll see that they calculate both at the subcategory levels as well as for the category levels. Moving on, once you are ready to submit your application, then you'll go back into edit mode. You can access the edit mode at the top of the screen, or you can access it below the applicant signature area. Once you're in edit mode, you'll scroll all the way back down, and you'll need to read the signature attestation and select the checkbox. This will show the last date that the application was signed. Anytime that you revisit an edit mode and you click save again, and if this signature box is checked, then the fields here will update based on that date and time. So we'll click on save, and you should notice that by clicking save actually does not mean that the application was submitted. Okay, we still have more steps to complete in order to submit the application. One of the most important steps that we'll need to complete is to insert the SF-424 form, which Joan had mentioned earlier. So while the application will allow you to save it without the SF-424, you will not be allowed to submit it without the SF-424. Page 33 of the AMIS of the AMIS training manual for BEA program applicants goes into step-by-step instructions for how to insert the SF-424 into grants.gov. So you'll only be able to perform this step once your SF-424 has been successfully submitted in grants.gov and receives that status of validated in grants.gov. So what we'll do is we'll go back into edit mode and to the SF-424 section. When you first go in, this section will be blank because you would not have populated it yet. What you can do is you can click on the microscope to search, and you will type in the word grant. It will select go. When you do that, the SF-424 that you uploaded in grants.gov and was successfully validated should appear below. And you will click on that particular hyperlink, and it will then populate into the application. And save. So again, page 33 of the AMIS training manual, which is also section 4.9, will provide detailed instructions on that. Okay, so before submitting the application, if you'd like, you can use the Principal View feature for your records, and you can print and or save the document as a PDF. And to submit your application, you would select the Submit BEA application towards the top of your screen. If you had any errors anywhere in your application, such as if you had a transaction that required supporting documentation and there was none uploaded, or if there was a required field that you did not complete, you will receive an error before submitting the application. Once you have no errors, then you will receive this message here, and it states that once submitted, you will not be able to update the application. Do you want to submit? So this basically confirms that you're ready to submit. Once you do click the OK button, then your application status field will indicate that it's under review. So we're actually not going to submit this application during our demo. But again, please follow the instructions in the AMIS manual. And again, once you've properly submitted it, this application status field here towards the right of your screen would go from new to under review. So this concludes our AMIS demonstration. If you have questions, please contact the AMIS Help Desk. If you have technical questions regarding the use of the system, or you can contact the BEA Program Office if you have questions regarding the application and qualified transactions. The AMIS Help Desk phone number is 202-653-0422, or you submit an IT AMIS service request with any questions. The BEA Program Office Help Desk phone number is 202-653-0421, or you can submit a BEA AMIS service request. Thank you very much. Operator, we've concluded the demonstration.
Thank Thank you for participating in today's conference. You may disconnect at this time.